All right, welcome everybody to the Goldenrod Draft League Broadcast. We are your hosts. My name is Soulblaze.
And I'm Merkit.
Glad to meet you guys to the first episode of this broadcast. And today we're presenting you with a draft league analysis of the F.A.R.M Draft League, which is a league of Merkits. It's season 2 we're covering this time, right?
Yes, it is a PPL style league with points instead of tiers, and a strange captain system that I've not seen in any other league.
Exactly. Why don't you go ahead and explain how that works?
Alright, so upon entry to the league with the application, you are asked what your 3 favorite Pokemon to use were, not necessarily competitive, but 3 favorite in general.
Yep.
Then you are given the choice of those 3 mons to be one of your captains, which you are required to bring 6 times in the season.
Exactly. So,
and depending on the price of the mon and the prices, you either gain or lose points.
Yeah, that's nice. Exactly. So if you choose a strong captain that costs many points, you won't get many points in return. You get a strong captain. So if you choose a weak captain, you get a lot of points to get that you can spend otherwise. If I'm not mistaken. All right. Well, this is split up into 2 conferences. We have the it's kind of like a majors and minors system here, with Togekiss being the majors division or the conference, and the Togepi being the minors division. And today we're covering.
For this broadcast, we are only going to be covering the Togekiss. If the Togepi division flourishes, we might cover it on the next season.
Yeah, in a different time, in a different place. For now, we're covering Togekiss, and we'll just give an honorable mention to the Togepi coaches for now. Without any further ado, let's start with our first coach, which is Dash, one of the moderators for the league. And his team name, Black City Rapidash. Let's skip on over to his team here with Caesar as the captain. And what's your first impression of this team, Merk?
The team has a lot of lower tier threats on it. It's a lot of mons that Dash is comfortable with.
Exactly. But they aren't necessarily that strong as a synergized team, because I see that he has, for example, Megazard Y here, but I don't necessarily see a way that he incorporates his team around that Sun that he has.
Right, but Dash is a good player. He doesn't pick a mon that he doesn't know, so he can certainly find a way to make these guys work together.
Yeah, exactly. Because his player and draft are far apart, right? So you can have a bombast team in draft, and then you can go like 0-12, or you can have like a very poor draft and then do very well because it's your comfort pick. So it all depends on how you want to play. But as of what we see here on paper, it's a lot of single typing combinations here that don't really match up together that well, like as in Jolteon, Espeon, and Silvally can be like tweaked and turned to your forte here, but you're lacking a bit of defense here, a little bit of bulk, and then I would have wished to see more around that Sun there. As of hazards, you don't really contribute that much either. I'm only seeing Stealth Rocks as of now, and you have some ways of getting rid of it, but I would like to see more of a coherent draft here. The Sun that you're setting up is only going to work against your captain and your Weavile that's following it, but I do see that you have maybe like 2 or max 3 win cons for you here. What do you think, Merk?
I think that's about right, and like the Sun can also reduce the effectiveness of the Blastoise.
Yeah, exactly. He has a little bit of a U-turn volt switch action here and there, but most of it is probably going to be set up or just straight up banded or specs to be able to do some damage here, because most are like how should I say? They're not since they're single. Most of them are single typings, right? They don't get the benefit of that dual stab. But it's mostly, as I see, your win con is going to be a setup type thing here.
Right. All right, and so let's move on to the next coach.
Yeah, let's move on to the next coach for now. That's actually Luxans of the FC Groningen Galades. I know I misspelled Groningen. I'm going to take shit for that later, but it's whatever. Luxans is a captain, is Samurott. And what do you think about Samurott, Merk?
I think Samurott's a very slept-on Pokemon. It doesn't have the greatest speed tier, and it is a mono water type, but I think that it has the potential to put in a little bit of work and can potentially turn the tide on a game.
Yeah, absolutely. I do see it being a decent assault lister, and I can see that maybe even like a banded set with Aqua Jet may do some damage here and there, but as of yeah, go ahead.
And it's a great Zmon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. As for the rest of this draft, I do have to say that this is an environment that Caesar thrives more in, as you have more bulk to be able to switch out of Fit and Power Fires if to tank. You have Snorlax with Thick Fat. You have Donphan right there. Even Incineroar can be of help there. And you have the power to boot as well. You have the Thunderous Theron with the electricity immunity there, and you have a sturdy Donphan, which makes Stealth Rocks pretty much guaranteed. And you also have the how should I say, the variety and that you can you have a Mew there, which you can twist and bend to pretty much everything you want. Seeing as it's the most viable one in the draft, also gets Aurora Veil to pair up with the Hail from Ninetales right there.
Right, and just as a note, that last slot is actually Charjabug, but when the slot was made, we didn't realize that he had Charjabug on his team.
Yeah, exactly. That was a document mistake, but I'm sure it's fixed by now. And Charjabug doesn't really change our thoughts too much on this team. It's a really cohesive team here with a lot of options, but I do see most of your threats being physical, as Mega Caesar, Terrakia, and the Samurott, and I do think Mew will it can be both, but I think a physical Mew will do you well here as well. I do like your bulk though, and I have to say that Rapid Spin from Donphan and the defogs you have available gives you more ability to prepare for the upcoming matches.
And now moving on to the next coach.
Let's move on to the next coach. That's actually Nightmare of the Hollywood Houndooms. Let's see what his captain is, and that's Tapu Koko. I believe we could speak about Tapu Koko for ages, but what do you think about this team as a whole?
I think this is probably the most offensively scary team in the draft.
I would have to agree there. The combination of Tapu Koko with Kyurem Black, also paired up with a bulky psychic type like Necrozma that often gets is a good Stealth Rock user right there, and you have the bulk and some immunities, and I really like how this team is set up.
Right. The only thing that I like, he has really good speed tiers. He has a lot of he has some good hazard controls. He's got double spinners and Tentacruel and Fortress. He's got a Defogger and Servine. He's got a really bulky grass, and Gourgeist is just a really nice team.
Yeah, and even Landorus Incarnate can do like a lead Stealth Arc or a Defog U-turn set. I do have to say Mega Houndoom is a bit of an interesting Mega with this team, but I do see that most of your points went into the early portion of the draft, and I do have to say that when I see something like a Coco with paired up with Kyurem Black that are able to help each other out with wall breaking almost every team in this draft, I can see that having something like a Florges Miltank Tentacle Fortress in the back is really nice to see.
Yeah, and it's just he has the right amount of offense with the right amount of defense. It's a good balanced team.
absolutely. I do see some because Fortress gets every kind of hazard. It also gets rapid spin, and you have just a really cohesive team here. Probably one of the best teams, probably the best team we've seen so far. Should we move on?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. This is Bart of the Archeops FC, and his captain is Mega Galley. And I say right off the bat, I can see that some synergy is set up here. I really like how you have the Psychic type Mega paired up with the Psychic Terrain from Mega Lele, from Tapu Lele, and you also have Hitmonlee in the back, which is an Unburden user, which you can put Psychic Seed on. And I really think that you have some good dual typings here that may not synergize the best with each other, like Rotom Heat and Nidoking and Araquanid, but they are really independent solid mons, which really bring something each to their own. Because you have Sticky Webs compared to Lele Terrain with a Mega Psychic type, and it really sets a strong standard for this team.
Right, and with the Psychic Terrain, you have a lot of frail, fast offensive threats that could really benefit from not having to worry about the priority moves.
Absolutely, as long as it's on the ground, like something like a Zygarde, which can't be hit with an Ice Shard, and stuff like that, is really valuable to this team. And I do see that you have something to fall back on if you were to be put in a tight situation. You have a strong pursuit user right there. You have Araquanid to fall back on, probably one of the tankiest water types, and you have a good solid set and removal of hazards as well. And I really like this team on paper.
I do too, and I believe that his last spot was also not on the dock as well. He had a Clamperl.
Yeah, a Clamperl. It's worth mentioning though. Clamperl can do some funny stuff with Shell Smash. Might pick up a cheesy kill or two, which I have to respect that in its own way, right? Because Clamperl doesn't see much play otherwise.
Right. All right, and let's move on to the next team.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Next coach up is Miso of the Murfreesboro Blazikins. And Miso's coach is Staraptor. Now, Staraptor is is an old guard, right? It's one of the better flying type Pokemon of the previous gens, but as of this gen, it has been caught up to. It still gets access to close combat, which is very nice for breaking those steel types. But I mean, as a captain, I do respect the pick, and I can see I see it being a good choice Scarfer. Compared with whatever else you have here, I do see that Doitrio probably makes most of the draft, because the ability to arena trap things is really valuable here. You have a lot of a strong independent mods that don't really synergize that well, like Jirachi, Zeraora are both weak to ground. The only really ground answer you have here is Chestnut, and once Chestnut goes down, and if you have Mega Altaria evolved, I don't really see how a strong ground type just doesn't have a field day on this team, because nothing switches into strong ground here. But otherwise, I do like how you have tried to make it like cohesive with frail mods.
Right, like on paper, this is probably one of the weaker teams on the draft, but I've heard that, I don't know from experience, but I've heard that Miso is a good battler, so I'm sure that he can figure out how to make it work out.
Yeah, exactly. I do see you have something like Klefki support should be really valuable here if you can manage to use that well. You have spikes on Chestnut. Jirachi can do some funny stuff with that Serene Grace of it, and you do have the electric immunity in Zeraora from the Starmie and Staraptor weakness if you choose to go that, and you also have a Gastrodon in the back, although Gastrodon may not be the strongest water type to back this team up. I do wish I saw something like a bulky water here to really solidify this team, because Starmie Gastrodon really isn't doing it for me, but if it works for me, so I'm sure it will see results, right?
Right. All right, let's move on to the next team.
All right, let's move. Yeah, this team also has a pretty good hazard control, but aside from that, I really want to see that power coming through here from the more dual typings, maybe something with more bulk. But aside from that, it's good. All right, on to the next coach is the Cena of Nigerian Jinx, and his captain is Infernape. Now, Infernape is a really staple fire type mon. Picking it as a captain is totally legit, seeing as it costs probably a lot of dollars in that sense, but it's really frail, but it hits like a truck, and it's a great start off to this team. You can talk to me about the rest of what you see here, Merk, and what your impression is.
I think Infernape is probably the most versatile fire type in the format.
Yeah, in what way?
It just does a multitude of different things. It could be a Sash lead with Rocks and Overheat Endeavor. It could be a Scarf variant, a Band variant. It could be special or physical. It could be a Z-move user.
Absolutely. I've seen my expert belt set on this easily made me climb like 500 points on the ladder due to Grass not being just effective against those grass ground types, and I do like how it's available to it, and I like how you have Registeel there, and you have ground immunity with it, because Heliolisk, the lower tier, the lower tail end of the draft here isn't really handling ground that well, aside from maybe Cryogonal, but most ground types have rock type moves as well, so I do like that you have Togekiss and Latias there to kind of not only provide a wish support, but have a solid defog and to back Registeel up, because Registeel really needs some bulky teammates to thrive and to prosper. And I do like the Ash Greninja as well. Talk to me about that.
Ash Greninja is, to be honest, like if you can plan around Ash Greninja is just a regular Greninja until it gets a kill.
Absolutely. Once it gets a kill, though, I'm pretty sure it's easily top 5 in draft, because it's raw power and it's boosted. Water Shuriken's priority is really a strong force to be reckoned with, although it's still pretty frail and probably taking a little beating in some matches to obtain that form. But if you get that form, it's definitely a win condition for this team. How do you feel about Mega Venusaur and all this, though?
I think Mega Venusaur kind of works well with Ash Greninja.
Yeah.
It resists any fighting type priority that might come Greninja's way, and then Greninja also is a dark type that counters the psychic type weakness of Mega Venusaur. So I think it's a nice balanced core, and I think Mega Venusaur and Registeel by itself is a really nasty defensive core.
Absolutely, and although maybe Nihilego isn't the best Toxic Spike setter here, I do like the hazards that it's bringing, so maybe use it as like a Sash lead to get up Toxic Spikes or a Suicide lead or something like that, but it hits hard and maybe it doesn't take that much, but it's a nice hazard addition to the team at least.
Right. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the next team.
Yes, the next team is the Hong Kong Dreadigans, coached by Pythons. Pythons
has a real reputation of being a really good player. So I think that him picking Melodic as his captain is a very, very smart move.
Absolutely. Melodic is one of those bulky waters that's often overseen by the likes of Araquanid and Suicune, but it definitely proves its worth with the Marvel scale ability, being able to boost its defense by 1.5 due to the Flame Orb. Also countering any toxic mods that usually stall it out. It has decent recovery, and I like how it's the most of this draft is based off of pretty maybe not risky, but it's a really bold move to draft these mods, because most of them are really frail, but something like Xurkitree, Mega Beedrill, Bisharp, Emboar, Digger Speed, they all pack so much power, and often the speed to boot if you Scarf it. So I do like the bold draft that we're seeing out of Pythons here, and if he's a good player, I'm sure he's going to make that work.
And a lot of his mons are definitely more advanced mons.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Like it takes a higher skill level to play them properly.
absolutely. Something like the double-bladed circuitry, something that you don't often see, but has the complete chance to take over any game. You're familiar with the source dance set of double-blade, but maybe players that are inexperienced against the circuitry may fall to it easier, and it really busts some holes through some thick walls against other teams here.
Right. And honestly, I'm looking through his team, and his team kind of looks like it's out of like a Chinese parade.
Absolutely.
Like look at Inboard, the Blade,
Yeah.
the Sharp.
Yeah, I do see also maybe on the middle to lower end, you see like the ground starts to build up here. You see double-blade and circuitry is weak. Double-blade is weak. Mega Beetle isn't taking it. Bisharp is weak, Ember is weak, and Diggersby isn't taking it, and Stunfisk is also weak. But I do like that you pair this up your. It looks like he is aware of this and tries to make amends for this by having it a thick Tangrowth there, paired with a Melodic and Latios for that ground immunity, as well as another immunity in Moltres.
Right. I think Pythons will definitely have a good season.
Yeah, absolutely. He brings the double steel, and it makes you so that you don't have to bring the same steel type every game, and it adds that little guessing game right there, and it adds that variety, and it's overall a pretty spicy team. I would say it's mid, maybe even high tier at the best, but if the player is taking it to a higher level, I can't wait to see what we see out of Pythons here.
I can't either. All right, let's move on to the next team. We got the Washington Whiscash, coached by Money Guy.
Hey, his coach, his captain rather is a Garchomp, probably one of the more stable ground types ever since it came out in Gen 4. Having that solid above 100 speed and that crazy good dual typing, being very versatile in the fact that it can run Band, it can run. Even like a Lumberry Outrage, and you can run defensive Stealth Rock set with that rough skin ability, and is overall a pretty good Z user and a Scarfer. And if you're able to take care of that ice weakness it has, it's a strong addition to any team, and I'm glad to see it right off the gate.
Right. Money Guy is probably top 3 players in this draft, and this draft is definitely suited to his play style. It's a very safe draft, but it's safe but effective at what it does.
Absolutely, I do see. What I really love about this is that you are aware of the fact that bulk is important, and you establish that really good defensive core right off the bat with Ferrothorn Toxapex. It's not a lot of mods that can break through that, like maybe strong electricity, but you have a ground type right there. In Garchomp, and you also have a secondary ground type if that was supposed to fail, and all paired up like a nice knot around the or is all well coming together when you have a fast mega like Lopunny. I really like the speed shares I'm seeing here, because he knows what to prioritize, and even though the lower half 2 mods in Porygon and Piloswine are weak to knockoff of their Eviolite, I'm sure that Money Guy's wise to play around that and establish some good control, even having Sun as an option.
Right. Like, I'm sure that I know that Money's going to have a good season. This is definitely something he's comfortable with. I really like his defensive core. I like the offensive guts he has.
Absolutely.
There's just not really much more I can say about this draft, and it's really good.
No, he has that. He has very nice bulk in Ferrothorn Toxapex core, and then if that somehow fails, he has Torkoal and Cofagrigus right there in the back as a very established physical walls. But I'm sure that won't stop him from investing in that special defense to really take those hits as well, and bringing double toxic spikes and good defoggers to this in Thundurus and Mandibuzz really puts a smile on my face.
And on to the next team, we have the San Antonio Shamans, coached by Coach 27.
Yeah, who is also an admin, or I mean a moderator, I should say.
And 27's captain is Shaman, and that's a mascot pick. It's his favorite Pokemon.
Yeah, absolutely. You see that right off the bat. It doesn't mean that Shaman is useless by any means. Shaman is one of the few pure grass types, but it does offer a lot of power with that signature move in Seed Flare, as we've seen time and time again. And I do like how it has 100 across the board and access to Healing Wish, which really is a nice move to support any strong team right there.
Right. And then his team itself, he's got a lot of fast offensive threats, and it's complemented by some slower pivots like Hitmontop. He's got Claydol, he's got Goodra, Mamoswine, and he's got Sticky Webs.
Absolutely.
And I think that Mamoswine, Mega Sharpedo, and Kartana with web support is going to do well.
Absolutely, Kartana is going to take care of that, or it's going to take care of a lot of things when you have Sticky Webs by your side. Shaman support appreciates it very well as well. Mamoswine really likes it, and when you don't have to Mega Turn 1, Mega Sharpedo really has a field day on this and as well, and I do like that. Your bulk could be better. I do see that only having like Goodra established as the bulk in the first half of the draft here, from the top half, is it could maybe be better, but I do like that you have that you're aware of the fact that Sticky Webs are going to take you far in this. You do have that grass immunity as well with Goodra, so it does really it has to do a lot for a Bulkmon. But when you have these threats under a Sticky Web, I don't know if it's really going to matter in most of the matchups anyway. So on paper, I'd say this is a quite a solid draft, definitely mid tier. What do you think, Merk?
I agree.
Totally. I would like to see some more threats, because either you're kind of like half and half here. Some of the things are really slow and hit hard, but some of the things are really fast and hit hard, but you don't have really like dedicated slow tanky mons and dedicated like fast strong hitters. Even you go like the Kartana route and you just pull fast stuff with Sticky Web all the way, or you draft some more bulk to back Goodra up so he doesn't have to do everything. Because once the Goodra goes down, I can see this team having a hard time against others that are very good at removing Sticky Webs.
Right. And then like that Ditto is going to force a lot of hard prep, and I think that it will pull a reverse sweep at least once.
Absolutely, that is a tank option though. So I do love Ditto as a low pick in this, but I wish I could see something more. But definitely a mid tier draft in this. We can move on to the next coach, which is Jasper of the Peapawniards. And his coach is Shoutout. I don't know about you, but I don't really know much about Shoutout. I know he gets like Boomburst and Chatter and stuff, but what does Shoutout really do for this team?
Shoutout can do a few different things. It's got a decent speed tier.
What's the speed tier?
If I remember, it's in the 90s. Let me check.
I think it's something like that too, 91 or something.
It does. Yeah.
It does hit hard if you scarf it, or if you specs it against slow teams. But as a captain, you do the thing here you have to remember is that Shoutout has to be brought to 6 games, and I don't know if Shoutout has a good matchup in 6 games, so it's more of a drag in that sense. But at least it gives you points to spend. Focusing on other picks, and I think that's where the value of this pick lies. It's more in the points than the Pokemon itself. What do you think?
Right, like even if it's just Sash Tailwind just to support his team, it still will have done work.
Absolutely.
And I think that he will find a way to make it work.
Yeah, you do have that Landorus Therian, often regarded as one of the best ground types in draft, being immune to ground itself. And you do pair that up with strong, semi-bulky stuff like Victini, Keldeo, Kyurem. and having Serena as like this semi-bulky thing to pair it out with, I do kind of think this first portion is mid-tier. Landorus Therian really makes it out to be that, and having Victini to really blast away with those V creates, or maybe even running a special set or something like that, really puts a staple to that this team has the power it needs, and what you need to do from here is basically just cover it up with bulk, and you should be set for a lot of the matchups you're going to face here. I don't really see a lot of common weaknesses, not that you can't cover for anyway, and I do have to say that Blissey is a very good merit to being a tank for this team here. I love Blissey myself. What do you think about the bottom half and the Mega, Merk?
I like Mega Diancie here. I'm seeing. I don't really see much wrong with it. I like Serena as a bulky grass type, definitely because it's immune to it can be immune to the priority that might hurt mons like Landorus. Like you can switch it into an Ice Shard.
Yeah,
easily.
Absolutely. I do like how Mega Diancie has that steel weakness support in both Victini, Keldeo, and Landorus. So steel types that Mega Diancie are afraid of don't really get much say against this team, seeing as it's going to meet the three of hard hitters at the top there. So Mega Diancie has an easier time. It also establishes some sort of hazard control with its ability Magic Bounce, being able to send everything that the opponents throw of hazards back at them. And I do like that you have some sneaky win conditions in the back, like Alakazam, Excadrill, Venomoth. They can all do their part in hitting on the special side. So I can easily see that the top side is heavy physical and the bottom side is heavy special. And aside from a bit more bulk, I like this team. Is maybe mid to maybe low, but I'd say somewhere mid tier.
Yeah.
We can move on though to the next coach.
Yep. We got the Missouri Magnazones. It is coached by Nick.
Yeah.
Looks like he's got the captain Kikumuku. Right now, this team is a very stall-oriented team.
Yeah, or at least very defense-oriented team. This team really screams, I got bulky waters, and if you're not prepared, you're going to get either PP stalled or calm-minded upon. With either Cresselia or Tapu Fini. So I do like, I'm a fan of Fini and Cresselia myself. I do like that you establish early bulk. Pikumuku might get some early or some funny kills with its ability Innards Out as well. Mega Aggron really reflects this team as a whole, seeing as Mega Aggron is probably one of the better tanky Megas, and having that support with Toxic Spikes and being a stealth rocker itself, and having Gligar there for a good removal and good bulk in general. I really think this draft is very good. I just think that you need a lot of setup to make this work, because most of the mods aren't that good with just pure stats. Like Cresselia, Fini probably need some Calm Minds to keep going, and but at the lower half, I can see that you make amends for this by trying to patch up your a little, to be honest, lack of offense, and you draft Tyranitar, Salamence, Buzzwole, and I really like that trio right there. You can say what you think about them, Mark.
I think that the one thing that I would like to see on this team is Spikes.
Yeah, I do miss that as well. Spikes do give that. Being one of the hazards that are most lethal when there are 3 up of them, being most of this team being weak to Spikes themselves, I can see that Spikes is definitely a factor in this. But I do like that you have that availability with Sand and Tyranitar, and that you have that power to pursue the trap with it, and you have that Intimidate, or you can even Moxie Sweep with Mega Salamence. No, not Mega Salamence, with regular Salamence there. And you can, Steel types are not really a threat either, seeing as you have Magnezone to trap them with its Magnet Pull ability, and being the mascot off the team as well.
Right. I think the one thing I would change about this draft is I would drop Type Null for a Stoutland.
Yeah, I think something like that too. It gives it the sand rush if it's available, so it cooperates with Tyranitar better. Mega Aggron and Tyranitar cooperate with the sand as well, and seeing as Mega Aggron does not take damage from the sand, but it does provide that availability and that variety, and I do like it. I just wish I got to see a bit more variety in or a bit more established. Hazard control maybe a little bit, and then some strong offense instead of like type null and maybe even mag zone, and you could drop something that's bulky on the top too. But otherwise from that, it's a pretty good draft. Definitely mid, or maybe maybe something mid tier. It's really defensive.
Right. And next up, we have the San Antonio Espers coached by Slayer.
Exactly. And what I see right off the bat here is a really good settled speed tiers, right? You have Gengar right there, you have Cobalion right there, and the Mega Aerodactyl, which kind of like solidifies my threats are above 100, and you best be prepared for a strong offense. And I can see that you have some coherence here, having that Clefable to really be annoying, and be that annoying bulk that can't be set up upon, and paired with the Tangela. I don't really see them do well together, but at least they are good independent mons together, right? Because poison kind of like runs through both of them, but you have that Cobalion, and I do wish I got to see a more solidified ground type than Swampert on this team. That's kind of maybe one of the factors that's more disappointing, and maybe I would like to see some more variety in the hazards as well, because as far as I see, you only pretty much have Stealth Rock available.
Right.
What's your thoughts on this team, Mark?
I like the offense. I like the offensive presence that this team brings. He's got it. He has to protect the Dragonite a little bit to keep his multi-scale up, but he's got He's got two really good. Well, not two. One really good defogger in Empoleon.
Yeah.
And then Vullaby can be there as a defogger as well.
Yeah. I don't like how this team is mostly weak to toxic spikes, and knockoff really does a solid amount to this team as well, seeing as something like Gengar doesn't take it, Tangela does not appreciate it, and the combo of Manaphy Raikou are both strong single typing offense, but having their item removed, or if you don't see it, they might be in trouble, because Manaphy really relies on having that tail glow action up, and if knockoff screws up with the item that you plan for it, then it's pretty much useless there, and Raikou might be able to get some Calm Mind sweeps, but if toxic spikes are in, then you're in for a ride, to say the least.
Definitely.
But I do like the offense on this team. I do wish I saw some better coherent defense. Clefable and Tangela does the work, but not maybe on the same team. I would have considered something like maybe a defensive steal, or something like that, that can really deal with not having your two tankiest mons being weak to the same typing.
Right, like they definitely, like as a defensive core, they definitely don't cover each other.
No, because the thing is, like when you have Swampert as your primary ground, and it gets hurt by toxic spikes, and poison runs through Clefable and Tangela, then your defenses are left looking very shabby, seeing as most electric types can just run house on this after Swampert is gone, and once Clefable and Tangela are weakened by either toxic spikes or poison type. So most people have the brains to draft poison, so that's one of the things I would be aware of. This is maybe like a mid to low draft as I see it, but if you are able to play it well, I can see you manage to make out some wins with good offense.
Right. Alright, let's move on to the next team.
Yes.
Next we have the Minnesota Manectrics, coached by Banana.
Yeah.
And his captain is probably the most abnormal captain in this thing, but
Yeah.
I'm sure that he could find a way to make this work. Is it Tropius?
Yeah, seeing as Tropius needs to be brought 6 times is kind of the same thing where you have to use the points that you gain from it wisely. It's a double ice weak or a quad ice weakness in combination with another quad ice weakness from your main threat. So maybe Tropius isn't the most ideal captain here, but I do understand that if you get asked what your favorite mon is and you have to make do with that, then yeah, either you have to make Tropius work really well, or you have to choose another favorite Pokemon, to say the least. But I do like the strong offense and the semi defense that I see here. Stakataka can do well as a defensive mon. Slowbro is one of the bulkiest water stats looked up to due to its ability to regenerator, making it very hard to kill, seeing as it keeps recovering HP. But once again, it's one of those cases that toxic users are gonna really slow this team's train down, seeing as the Slowbro can't really handle toxic well, Zapdos can't really handle it well, and your main threats are quad weak to something, so that kind of speaks for itself. But yeah, otherwise you have strong independent mons, really bulky offensive mons, and I like that. But I wish I saw some bulky offensive mons that played more together. What do you think?
I agree. I think the Persian pick at the end is interesting, but all of your offensive options have to be set up.
Yeah, I pretty much think so too. You do have the option to, but I do wish we saw something more cohesive here. I do like that you have that sticky web deterrent insert period, but your bottom half is pretty slow. Scolipede and Persian are like, yeah, they're speedy, but they don't hit that hard. And I do see a lot of times 4 weaknesses, but yeah. What do you think? Where should we place this team?
I think this team is like mid lower in the.
Yeah, I would say something around the same. Maybe best is mid, because it does have some half severe weaknesses, and that's pretty exploitable. But it has good offense if you manage to work around that. So it all depends on how you play with it. But on paper, it's maybe not the best draft we've seen, but we're interested to see how you make it work. Definitely.
Right. And let's move on to the next team.
Yeah, let's do that.
Alright, and we have the Florida State Seismitoads, coached by Dre15.
Yeah. I'll let you take this off.
Alright, I would say Dre is probably the best player in this league.
Do you think
that I know of?
Yeah. Do you think his team
there are some players that I don't know, but of the players that I do know, I would say it's safe to say that Dre is the strongest player. And I really like his captain pick of Roserade. Roserade offers a lot of utility as a sleeper, and it's a sleeper. It gets spikes, toxic spikes. It gets technician for boosted hidden powers.
Yeah,
it's just a really nice option.
Absolutely. Now, seeing as I don't know the players, I kind of have to have you as the guide to who has the best results. But in terms of you thinking Dre here being one of the best players, do you think his team reflects that? And if so, in what cases and what parts do you think his team reflects that, or not?
I think his team definitely reflects it. He has a lot of while his offensive options aren't like stand out and all of that. He's got Mega Mawile and Como with Roserade spike support. He's Mega Mawile with spike support. Como with spike support. You've got Crobat with support option for Ton Super Fang. Alolan Persian with Parting Shot support. You've got a really strong offensive rock type, Light and Rock Dust with that priority SL Rock. It just he had a lot going on for it. While on paper it might not look like the strongest draft, this is a draft that he can. This is a roster of mons that he can bend to his will and he can pull out wins.
Absolutely, I do have to agree. I see that some of the mons that are on this are often traditionally seen as pretty much one-dimensional, but he covers that up with great offense in the sky. And although I do wish I could see some sticky web support for this, I don't think it is the deciding factor for whether they see wins or not, seeing as you have a pretty annoying mons to deal with in Gliscor or Uniclus, and I like how you pair that with a lot of fast offense in Alolan Persian and Lycanroc Dusky and Crobat and Roserade in that terms. The only thing I'm worried about here is if Mega Mawile is the right pick here. It's a really strong mon, but seeing as it's a bit slower than the rest of the team, I am curious if this it manages to keep up with the rest. But seeing as you have access to Sucker Punch, huge power, it shouldn't be that much of a problem. We'll just see how you manage. Where would you place this team in terms of effectiveness on the ladder that we made?
I would say top 5.
You'd say top 5.
Yes.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Interesting. I would say definitely mid, high mid. I wouldn't necessarily put it top 5. I don't know. I have to look over all the teams.
Top 5 is high mid though.
Yeah, absolutely. It is high mid, definitely. I'd say maybe towards the lower end of top 5, but definitely I can agree with you. It's a strong draft.
All right, moving on to our next team. We had the Blackmont Red Cougars, coached by Scoot.
Yeah, and his team is pretty interesting, seeing as his captain is Mega Alakazam. Probably one of the it's one of the speediest Megas in combination with Mega Aerodactyl, and although it's single typing, its ability Trace, being able to copy the opponent's ability, it makes it really versatile in a lot of situations. Sometimes it gets beast boosts, sometimes it gets immunities, and that really takes this up a notch, seeing as this ability is really the saving grace of this Pokemon. I've seen defensive variants as well. So there is some versatility there, and it's a strong kickoff to the draft that we see here. Talk to me about the rest of the squad.
While he does have some great offensive options in Mega Alakazam, Hydreigon, he's got Torrent Greninja, where it's the best offensive action, blah blah blah. Not best offensive option. It is it still hits hard.
Exactly.
He's got it paired with a defensive core of Celesteela and Suicune, which I really like. I think that the pitfall of this draft is as much as it pains me to say this, is Megazord X. Yeah. Having a Mega Pokemon as your captain means that you have to bring that Mega Pokemon 6 times. And if you bring it 6 times and you bring Charizard, you still have to hold the Mega Stone.
Exactly.
So you're pretty much you either have to choose to play an Alakazam with no item, or to bring Charizard to every game, or just bring Mega Alakazam.
Exactly. Would you say it's the Megazord X or the Mega Alakazam that's the pitfall here? Because if you made Zard X as the captain, then maybe it would have more value than as it stands right now. What do you think?
Right. I think it's picking a Mega as a captain in general, and then picking up another Mega in the draft.
Yeah, exactly. What I do like to see though. Continue. Sorry.
It's not the fault of the mons themselves in the roster. It's just an awkward situation.
Yeah, I do like to see how most of the mons that are in this are individually very strong. You have Nidoqueen, one of the best defensive ground types, right? Being able to absorb Toxic Spikes and bring that solid Stealth Rock with the ability Sheer Force, so it hits hard as well. I do like how Celesteela can be tweaked to either be a defensive Leech Seed or maybe an offensive Autodevice, but most of this is going to be set up. You see Suicune is famous for what it does, the Calm Mind, the Crocodile sets with the rest or without rest, paired with Comfy, Nidoqueen and Celesteela, I am in no doubt that you will tank quite a lot of things, but I don't know if it's the right things compared to what offense you're bringing here. And seeing as what you spoke about the pitfall, it really kind of tarnishes the offensive presence or the offensive glory that's supposed to be this team, because you can clearly see that the offense on here goes a long way. It's just how it plays together doesn't really stack up.
Right.
Now we can move on to the next team. The next team is the Sweden Soulblaze, coached by Bossmania.
And Boss's captain is the Talonflame.
Yeah. What do you think about Talonflame ever since? In this gen, sort of.
I think the Gale Wings nerf definitely hurt it. I think that Talonflame by itself, without setting up, is a little weak.
Yeah, I do agree on that. Having that ×4 weakness to the Stealth Rocks is kind of fatal here. It does bring them on down a couple of notches, but I see that Gale Wings can pick up some crucial kills here and there. But aside from that, what do you think of the rest of the team?
I like the balance of it. He's got the Bulucha, he's got the Rain, he's got a lot of things that opponents have to prepare for.
Absolutely, I have to agree there. You have strong defense in Chesney Bronzong, and your primary fire type is going to have to be Volcarona most of the time, I can imagine. You do have a strong pair in Rotom Wash Bulu as well, and having that ability to set up Rain for your Mega Swamper to wreak havoc, or maybe Hawlucha does the work. Having two Super Sweepers like that, compared with a Volcarona that can set up Quiver Dances, really takes this team to a high level for me. I really like what I'm seeing here. Weezing is also going to burn a lot of things with Will-O-Wisp. And you do have some sneaky offense in Sneasel Hoopa as well. So, and this seeing as Rain pairs together and Terrain pairs together, the only thing you really have to worry about here is that the grassy terrain halves your Mega Swamper's Earthquakes. But aside from that, if you're able to keep that in mind, I think this team is easily high tier for me.
I agree.
Is there anything you would like to add on this? What do you think about the speed tiers?
The speed tiers are kind of slow, to be honest, outside of Hawlucha.
Yeah, and Mega Swampert and Rain.
Yeah.
It's like it requires smart play, but if you're able to manage that, I'm sure you're going to have a great time. Sneasel is also pretty fast, so if you're able to manage your chess pieces correctly, then this team will definitely go far. It's definitely a skill-based draft that is really, the results vary hard on what the player does, right? But Talonflame
Right.
is maybe the odd man out for me. But aside from that, I'm really pleasantly surprised of what I'm seeing from Bossmania here. Should we move on?
Yes.
All right.
And now I'm going to introduce all the coaches in the Togepi division, because that is the end of the draft analysis.
Yes. Go ahead.
Alright, first of all, we have the Melbourne Magnetine, coached by Ben Hitmonlee.
Mm-hmm.
Next, after that, we have the Florida Ferrets, coached by Zach the Goat.
Yep.
We have the Melrose Meloetta, coached by Bruins Girl.
Mm-hmm.
The Adelaide Agrange, coached by the Pichu Brothers. The Cardiff Swablu, coached by Nightmare. And then we have the West. Let me see what.
Mr. E.
That is the Westwood Wobbuffet. That's West Coast Garfield by Mr. E.
Oh.
Or West Coast Weeballs, I should say. I apologize.
Okay.
Then we have the Miami Volbeat, coached by Coach Assy. The Iowa Cartanas, coached by, let's see. The Iowa Cartanas, coached by Trey Myers.
Yep.
The Kentucky Torcats, coached by yours truly. The Toronto Tyrantrums, coached by Coach Caper. The Boston Bewares, coached by Coach Levin Ma, the Pallet Town Pichus, and they are
Pikachu's?
Pallet Town Pikachu's. They are coached by Eagle Gene.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the Andrew Absols, coached by the Hungry Bidoof. Then we have the Boston Espers, and they are coached by, I believe, Yit.
Well, I think that's Hollow.
Yeah, that's Hollow. Then we have the London Luxrays. They are coached by, if I remember right, they are coached by Saber.
Yeah. And last but not least, we have the Westwood Wobbuffets, coached by Yatakuziv. Yeah. Well, that's nice. That's the Togepi division. If you play well, then hopefully we get to cover your drafts and week-to-week plays currently in the future. But as for that, our special thanks goes out for the founders and Togekiss commissioners, Dashin27, the administrators, Dre15, Bart, and Dazzle, the Togepi division admins, Merkit here, Miso, and Nightmare, and of course a little shout out to GlitchxCity for providing the great music we have.
Alright, and that's all that we have for you all tonight. Thank you all for tuning in, and we will be bringing you a weekly Sports Center style podcast covering each week of this draft.
Yes.
And so hopefully you all enjoyed that, and we look forward to seeing you all in the future.
Please give us feedback on this episode. We'd much appreciate that, seeing as this is our first project. Thank you so much for listening, and bye for now. The Merk and Soul signing out.
All right, bye.